Hi, this is Matthew Davidson. Just making a quick little kind of impromptu video today. You'll notice I entitled my video, I'm a gun-toting maniac. I did that to get a lot of attention because I wanted people to watch the video. It's sarcastic. I am not an actual gun-toting maniac. I do have 3 guns. I carry one of them with me on a regular basis, but I am not a maniac. I just wanted to talk a little bit about this whole deal in Vegas, but even more so, not just the attack in Vegas, but just the whole gun issue in general. Um, I owned a gun for a little while when I was a kid. I didn't really own it. It was my dad gave it to me, but it was a 22 rifle, and I used it just to go rabbit hunting with my dad. I didn't have it very long. I think I've had it about a year, and then he sold it or did something to it. But I didn't really get into guns until I was in my late 30s, probably 37, 38 years old. I moved to Idaho and I found a lot more freedom, not just freedom like legal freedom, but freedom of open spaces where you can go and you can hunt and you can go, you know, target practice. We have a huge desert out there and people can just go out there and target practice. And it's kind of stress relieving and whatever. But I just wanted to kind of give you a background on me real quick. I have a history of mental illness in my family. My mother suffers from depression and paranoia and all these different things, and my dad has never been diagnosed with mental illness, but he showed the signs of I forgot what they call it, narcissistic something or another. Anyway, he's got some issues. Neither one of them have ever been violent, but they both have some mental issues. And the history of mental illness was, in part, a small part of why I was denied entrance into the military. I was also flat-footed and I had some asthma and different things. But the history of mental illness was part of why I was denied entrance into the military when I went to try to join when when the Desert Storm was happening. So that was a part of it, not the whole part, but not the whole thing, but that was part of it. I suffer from seasonal depression and just your standard depression. I occasionally like to indulge in some heavy metal music. I'm not a real big listener of heavy metal because the lyrics quite often are very anti-God, very anti-Jesus, very immoral. But I like to listen to heavy metal instrumental. I fit into a lot of the categories that people say are dangerous. History of mental illness. I'm a loner. I'm 47. I'm not married. I live alone. I live in a state where the gun laws are um, very liberal, not liberal, but very loose, I guess you could say. Um, I fit a lot of the categories. I'm kind of that guy that you look at and you think, I wonder what's going on behind his door. I'm very open about my love of guns and love of the Second Amendment, but I've been carrying firearms, buying firearms, selling firearms to friends and neighbors, trading, kind of like we trade kind of like we did when we were kids. We traded our Hot Wheels cars. When I'm an adult now, I trade guns with people. It's a different culture here in Idaho than it is in a lot of other states. But I've been doing this for 8 years, actually 9 years. I bought my first gun when I was 38, so that's 9 years ago. Uh, and carrying guns everywhere. I've carried guns with me into church because there are other people, not the church here probably, but in churches like in my hometown of Nashville, where I go back to visit, the church that I go to there with my friend. Most of the people there carry guns. I've carried them all over the place. I've been inside grocery stores. I've been near children with guns. I've been, in large crowds with guns. And for 8 years, with all this background and mental illness and depression and all the major signs that, like the signs that didn't occur, that nobody saw in this guy that shot people in Vegas. So why haven't I gone out and killed, 500 people or tried to kill 500 people? Why haven't I opened fire on a crowd? Why haven't I, robbed a liquor store or shot people because it looks fun or whatever? Why haven't I done that? Well, the thing is, there's no way to know who's going to do that, if they're going to do it, when they're going to do it, where they're going to do it, how they're going to do it, or anything. There's no way to know, going by statistical factors, who is going to do what. There's no way. And there's also no way that you can legislate um, any sort of gun control, quote unquote, that will stop people from doing things like what happened in Vegas Sunday night. You could ban all the guns in the world, or all the guns in the nation. You could take all the guns away. You could destroy the Second Amendment. You could shut down the NRA. You could bar any sort of firearm whatsoever from being bought in stores or gun shows or anything like that. You could arrest everybody that has guns, throw them in prison. You could take and roll over with a steamroller all the thousands and millions of guns. And people like this guy in Vegas would still find some way to either get a gun or some other kind of weapon that he could use to destroy people, because he was evil, and that's what evil people do. Evil people find ways to destroy. They find ways to murder. They find ways to steal. They find ways to do whatever they want to do. And you can't legislate that away. You can't stop that. And in doing so, in trying to do so, you will not only take the people's rights away to defend themselves against people like this guy in Vegas and against muggers and rapists and whatever, but you also will take their rights, their basic everyday rights away. Right now there's a bill that's about to take effect. I forgot what it's called. It's something like the Real ID something. So now, because I live in Idaho, and the Idaho governor does not want his citizens to have to submit to a deep examination and into their private lives, all this minuscule information, because the Idaho governor doesn't want that to happen. Now, because I live in Idaho, starting January of next year, which is just a couple of months away, 3 months away, I guess. Starting in January, I will not be able to get on an airplane, go into any federal building, including a post office. If I have to do anything that's with ID in a post office, I can walk in the door, but I can't do anything with ID in a post office. I can't get on an airplane. I can't, I guess voting is one of the things that you can't do. You can't do any of these things that are on a federal level without with an Idaho ID. So basically, I have to use my passport to do all these things now. And if I don't have a passport, how am I going to get it? How am I going to get my passport renewed? Because don't you have to have ID to get your passport renewed? And if your ID is not federal, then what? What are you going to do? So we're already starting to see people's private lives being invaded. We're already starting to see, we're becoming more and more like the Soviet Union every day. And people don't see this because they're so emotional about things like the things that happened in Vegas Sunday. And believe me, I'm emotional too. I sat there, I cried for a couple of hours actually when I watched all these things happening, and I had such a bad anxiety attack that it caused an asthma attack, which made me miss work today. I'm feeling a little better now, but I'm still really drained and still really tired. I watched Jimmy Kimmel, give a very emotional appeal about gun control, and I believe he's sincere, but he's still wrong. Just because you feel emotional about something doesn't mean you're right, even any more than I'm right because I'm feeling emotional about something. But I'm trying to appeal to people's logic rather than their fear. Gun control will not work in America. We have too many borders, for one thing. There's only, I think, 2 countries that I've ever heard of that actually had gun control that worked, and one of them is Japan. And the reason it works in Japan is because the Japanese people are mostly one race. They're mostly one religion. There's like 2 or 3 minor religions within this structure, But most Japanese people are the same race, the same religion. They live on a secluded, basically a secluded area with no borders, really, no real borders, and the only way anything gets in and out is by ships. So it's very easy for them to control what comes in and out of their country. They can go on these ships and check to make sure there's no guns. So their gun violence rate is almost nothing. They still have stabbing deaths. They still have deaths by beating. They still have deaths by poison. They still have deaths by. They had a terrorist attack not that long ago in a train station where somebody used some sort of gas that they made with products that they found in a grocery store. It killed, I forgot how many people, 30 people or whatever it was. But gun control kind of works in Japan because of that reason. But it would never work in America. You could never, all you would end up doing if you had quote unquote gun control in America is taking guns away from people that really need them. That's all you would ever do. The only people would have them would be the law enforcement, who would become completely corrupt if without the citizens having the ability to protect themselves, because like the old saying goes, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Then you would have the criminals who would get those guns, from Central America, Mexico, whatever, ships from Russia, ships from China, ships from the former Soviet Union, India, wherever they come from. And there's all these borders. We got Canada, we got Central America and South America. We got the ocean on these sides. Too many things coming in all at once. There's no way you could ever take away the ability for madmen and evil people and terrorists to get guns and bring them in here and harm people. Bring them to America and harm people. You can't do that. So the only thing you're ever going to do is you're going to take away more rights of the civilians, the voters, the taxpayers of America. Take away more rights from them, and more freedom from them, and more of their ability to take care of themselves and their families. That's all you're ever going to do. So you can't predict evil. You can't look at a person and say that they're going to do something evil because they've got mental illness or this and that, blah blah blah. You can't control guns coming in. You might slow them down a little bit if you put some restrictions on them. But that's all. You're just going to slow it down. So you maybe instead of 10 mass shootings a year, maybe there'll only be 7. Not a huge difference. It still doesn't stop the problem. The only way we can really ensure that America is safe is if everybody has the right to carry and use a weapon that they can stop a madman with if they need to. If 50 of those people in that crowd, 60 of those people in that crowd had a fold-up AR in their backpack, like a lot of people around here. Actually, people around here where I live that carry AR, and it doesn't mean assault rifle, by the way. It means armor light rifle, but there's people around here that carry ARs, on their backs, in their backpacks. If somebody had some sort of gun that had the ability to reach out, go out a little bit further than a pistol, this guy may have been taken out, but nobody had that because people don't do that. People think guns are evil. And so you can't carry an assault rifle because it's evil. Oh my goodness, it's so evil. It would have been really nice if somebody had something like that they could have just 2 or 3 shots, take the guy out, instead of having 59 dead and 479 wounded. Maybe it would have been 10 dead and 82 wounded or something. We could have reduced it quite a bit. But people think, oh no, the evil AR or the evil semi-automatic rifle or the evil this or the evil that. Here we stand. And you guys, you liberal people, you want us to have fewer rights for the citizens to keep and bear arms. You want less rights for us to do that. And then each time you scream that, the body count goes up. And there's got to be a reason for that. There's got to be a reason. So just think about these things. Stop being emotional for a minute. Stop. Get your head out of CNN's butt. Get your head out of MSNBC's butt. Get your head out of Hillary Clinton's butt. Get your head out of Hollywood's butt, and think for yourself and realize that what you're proposing is going to make more deaths, not less, more. Thank you.